Hello and welcome to the Very Dairy Challenge, brought to you by McIver's Grant Public Library, UT Extension, Dyer County, and Dyer County 4-H. Today we will be reading The Stinky Cheese Man and Other Fairly Stupid Tales by John Scieszka and Lane Smith. This book was published by Viking Books, and it is a Caldecott Award winner, which means the illustrations are going to be wonderful. Are you ready? Alright, let's find out what happens to the Stinky Cheese Man. Usually the next page is the title page, but they've got something right here. Let's see what that says. I have found a kernel of wheat, said the little red hen. Now who will help me plant this wheat? Where is that lazy dog? Where is that lazy cat? Where is that lazy mouse? Wait a minute. Hold everything. You can't tell your story right here. This is the end paper. This book hasn't even started yet. Who are you? Will you help me plant the wheat? I'm Jack. I'm the narrator, and no, I can't help you plant the wheat. I'm very busy trying to put a book together. Now, why don't you just disappear for a few pages? I'll call when I need you. But who will help me tell my story? Who will help me draw the picture of the wheat? Who will help me spell the wheat? Listen, hen, forget the wheat. Here comes the title page. So there's the end page that's not supposed to have a story on it. And here's the title page. This is the title page for The Stinky Cheese Man and Other Fairly Stupid Tales. And then there it says Viking Press, which is who published it. Oh, there's a dedication page. Can you see? Is there something wrong with the dedication page? Can you read it? I know. The page is upside down. I meant to do that. Whoever looks at that dedication stuff anyhow. If you really want to read it, you can always stand on your head. Would you like to stand on your head to read that dedication? What if we just flip the book over? It says, this book is dedicated to our close, personal, special friend, your name here. This book's dedicated to you. Introduction. A long time ago, people used to tell magical stories of wonder and enchantment. Those stories were called fairy tales. Those stories are not in this book. The stories in this book are almost fairy tales, but not quite. The stories in this book are fairly stupid tales. I mean, what else would you call a story like Goldilocks and the Three Elephants? This girl walking through the woods smells peanut porridge cooking. She decides to break into the elephant's house, eat the porridge, sit in the chairs, and sleep in the beds. But when she gets in the house, she can't climb up on baby elephant's chair because it's just too big. She can't climb up on mama elephant's chair because it's much too big. And she can't climb up on papa elephant's chair because it's much, much, much too big. So she goes home. The end. And if you don't think that's fairly stupid, you should read The Little Red Running Shorts or maybe The Stinky Cheese Man. In fact, you should definitely go read the stories now, because the rest of this introduction is just kind of goes on and doesn't really say anything. I stuck it on the end of here so it would fill up the page and make me look like I really knew what I was talking about. So stop now. I mean it. Quit reading. Turn the page. If you read this last sentence, it won't tell you anything. Jack, Up the Hill, Fairy Tale Forest, 1992. Then there's a little warning. Surgeon General's warning. It has been determined that these tales are fairly stupid and probably dangerous to your health. Do you think they're dangerous to your health? This book's called Chicken Lickin'. Once upon a time, Chicken Lickin' was standing around and a piece of something fell on her head. She wasn't the brightest thing on two legs, so she started running around in circles, clucking, "The sky is falling! The sky is falling! We must tell the president!" Chicken Lickin' ran to her friend Ducky Lucky and clucked, "Ducky Lucky, Ducky Lucky, the sky is falling, the sky is falling, we must tell the president." "Let's go," quacked Ducky Lucky. Chicken Lickin' and Ducky Lucky ran to their friend Goosey Lucy and yelled, "Goosey Lucy, Goosey Lucy, the sky is falling, the sky is falling, we must go and tell the president." "Let's go," honked Goosey Lucy. Chicken Lickin', Ducky Lucky, Goosey Lucy ran to their friend Cocky Locky and yelled, "Cocky Locky, Cocky Locky, the sky is falling, the sky is falling, we must tell the president." "Let's go," crowed Cocky Locky. There's a picture. Something falling and hitting her on the head. What do you think happened? You think they killed the president? Wait a minute, cried Jack the narrator. I forgot the table of contents. I forgot the table of contents. Hey, you're not in this story, said Chicken Lickin'. I know, said Jack the narrator, but I came to warn you. The table of contents is... The sky is falling, clucked Chicken Lickin'. We must tell the president. So Chicken Lickin', Ducky Lucky, Goosey Lucy, Cocky Locky ignored Jack the narrator and ran off to catch a plane to Washington. Just outside the airport, they met Foxy Loxy. Foxy Loxy, Foxy Loxy, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. We must tell the president, yelled Chicken Licken, Duckin' Licky, Goosey Licky, and Cocky Locky. Well, come with me, said Foxy Loxy. I know a shortcut to the airport. Foxy Loxy led Chicken Licken, Ducky Lucky, Goosey Lucy, and Cocky Locky to his cave. He didn't get to eat them, though, because Chicken Licken was almost right. The sky wasn't falling. Let's see what happens. The table of contents was, it fell and squashed everybody. The end. That's no good, is it? Chicken Licken was on page 4. Let's go ahead and find out what's on page 10, the princess and the bowling ball. Once upon a time there was a prince, and this prince's dad and mom, the king and queen, somehow got into their royal heads that no princess would be good enough for their boy unless she could feel a pea through 100 mattresses. So it should come as no surprise the prince had a very hard time finding a princess. Every time he met a nice girl, his mom and dad would pile up 100 mattresses on top of a pea and then invite her to sleep over. When the princess came down for breakfast, the queen would ask, "How did you sleep, dear?" The princess would politely say, "Fine, thank you," and the king would show her to the door. Now this went on for 3 years, and of course nobody ever felt the pea under 100 mattresses. Then one day the prince met the girl of his dreams. He decided he better do something about it. That night, before the princess went to bed, the prince slipped a bowling ball under the 100 mattresses. When the princess came down for breakfast the next morning, the queen asked, "How did you sleep, dear?" "This might sound odd," said the princess, "but I think you need another mattress. I felt like I was sleeping on a lump as big as a bowling ball." The king and queen were satisfied. The prince and princess were married, and everybody lived happily ever after, though maybe not completely honestly ever after. The end. Do you like that story better or the original? The Really Ugly Duckling. Once upon a time there was a mother duck and a father duck who had 7 baby ducklings. 6 of them were regular-looking ducklings. The 7th one was really ugly duckling. Everyone used to say, "What a nice-looking bunch of ducklings, all except that one. Boy, he's really ugly." The really ugly duckling heard these people, but he didn't care. He knew that one day he would probably grow up to be a swan and be bigger and look better than anything in the pond. And there's a picture of the ugly duckling. Well, as it turned out, he was just a really ugly duckling, and he grew up to be just a really ugly duck. The end. Look how big those words are, isn't that funny? The Other Frog Prince. Once upon a time there was a frog. One day when he was sitting on his lily pad, he saw a beautiful princess sitting by the pond. He hopped in the water, swam over to her, and poked his head out of the weeds. "Pardon me, oh beautiful princess," he said in his most sad and pathetic voice. "I wonder if you could help me." The princess was about to jump and run, but she felt sorry for the frog with the sad and pathetic voice. So she asked, "What can I do to help you, little frog?" "Well," said the frog, "I'm not really a frog, but a handsome prince who was turned into a frog by a wicked witch's spell, and the spell can only be broken by the kiss of a beautiful princess." The princess thought about this for a second. Then she lifted the frog from the pond and kissed him. "I was just kidding," said the frog, and he jumped back in the pond, and the princess wiped the frog slime off her lips. The end. What about that book? Uh-oh. Little Red Running Shorts. "Okay, I've got things running smoothly now," said Jack the narrator, "and this next story is even better than the last 3. See, it's about this girl who runs very fast and always wears red running shorts. That's where her name comes from. Get it? So anyway, this girl is running to her granny's house when she meets a wolf. He tricks her into taking the long way while he takes the shortcut. Now this is good part because Red runs so fast that she beats the wolf to Granny's house. He knocks on the door, Red answers it, and guess what she says? 'My, what slow feet you have.' And that's it. The end. Is that great or what? So sit back, relax, and enjoy Little Red Running Shorts. And now, like I already said, Little Red Running Shorts. You just told the whole story," says Little Red Running Shorts. "We're not going to tell it again." "You can't say that," says Jack. "I have to start with Once Upon a Time." "No way," said the wolf. "You blew it." "But you guys are next. Look at the title at the top of the page. Little Red Running Shorts. That's what it says. That's you. Let's go, wolf." We're out of here. Wait, you can't do this. Your story is supposed to be 3 pages long. What do I do when I turn the page? There's the picture. What do you think will happen when we turn the page and there's no story? It's a blank page. Oh my goodness. I planted the wheat, I watered the wheat, I harvested the wheat. Now do I get to tell my story, said the little red hen? Say, what's going on here? Why is that page blank? Is that my page? Where's that lazy dog? Where's that lazy cat? Where is that lazy mouse? How do they expect me to tell the whole story by myself? Where is that lazy narrator? Where is that lazy illustrator? Where is that lazy author? I think Little Red Hen just popped down in there, didn't she? Jack's bean problem. Forget that hen. Now it's time for the best story in the whole book, my story. Because once upon a time, I traded our last cow for 3 magic beans. And hey, Giant, what are you doing down here? You're wrecking my whole story. I don't like that story, said the giant. You always trick me. That's the best part, said Jack. Fee, fi, fo, fum, forty. I have made my own story. Great rhyme, Giant, and I'm sure your story is just as good, but there's no room for it. So why don't you climb back up the beanstalk? I'll be up in a few minutes to steal your gold and your singing harp. Look at that big giant stepping down on the beanstalk. I'll grind your bones to make my bread. I knew you'd understand. And there's another little thing that's been bugging me. Could you please stop talking in uppercase letters? It really messes up the page. I will read my story now, said the giant. And he did. Giant story. The end of the evil stepmother. And I'll huff and I'll snuff and I'll give you 3 wishes. The beast changed into 7 dwarfs, happily ever after, for a spell had been cast by a wicked witch once upon a time. That's your story, said Jack. You've got to be kidding. That's not a fairly stupid tale. That's an incredibly stupid tale. That's an unbelievably stupid tale. That's the most stupid tale I ever... Ugh! The giant grabbed Jack and dragged him to the next page. What do you think? Look how he tore up all the different kinds of fairy tales and just jumbled them together. And looks like he did the same thing on the illustrations. What do you think he's going to do to Jack on the next page? Jack's story. Once upon a time there was a giant. The giant squeezed Jack and said, he squeezed him, he didn't sneeze him. Let's start that again. Sorry about that. Jack's story. Once upon a time there was a giant. The giant squeezed Jack and said, tell me a better story or I will grind your bones to make my bread. And when your story is finished, I will grind your bones to make my bread anyway. Ho, ho, ho. The giant laughed an ugly laugh. Jack thought, hey, he'll kill me if I do. He'll kill me if I don't. There's only one way to get out of this. Jack cleared his throat and began his story. See how the words in this book start out really big and see how they're getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Once upon a time there was a giant. The giant squeezed Jack and said, tell me a better story or I will grind your bones to make my bread. And when your story is finished, I will grind your bones to make my bread anyway. Ho, ho, ho. The giant laughed an ugly laugh. Jack thought, he'll kill me if I do. He'll kill me if I don't. There's only one way to get out of this. Jack thought and thought. And he cleared his throat and began his story. Once upon a time, there was a giant. The giant squeezed Jack and said, tell me a better story. I will grind your bones to make my bread. And when your story is finished, I will grind your bones to make my bread anyway. Ho, ho, ho. The giant laughed an ugly laugh. And Jack thought, he'll kill me if I do. He'll kill me if I don't. There's only one way to get out of this. See how he's just repeating himself over and over and over and over and over and over and over. Maybe his story will never